Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dice Tower review. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest release in Unmatched. This is Teen Spirit, Marvel Unmatched that is. And this is going to have 3 new characters. Squirrel Girl, it's going to have Miss Marvel, and technically 2 characters. That's 4 really. It's really 4.
It is 4.
Yeah, this is going to be Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Who work together. So it's really one hero, you're playing as. So again, this is a new release in the Marvel line. So this is all mix and match stuff. You can mix it with the previous Marvel sets, or really any other Unmatched set that you've picked up before. But we're going to obviously focus on this. I'm going to give you an overview, not of the game per se, but just of what comes in here. If you want to find an overview of how to play Unmatched, boy, we got a lot of videos about Unmatched. So you can click one of those and see how the game itself works.
Right.
But if you just want to see the new characters, you want to see the board, bits that come in here, let me show you that right now, and we're going to come back with some thoughts. Before I get to the characters and give you a look at them, let me show you the battlefield here. We've got the Navy Pier, which is the same board on both sides with the different styles. I'll show you the other side in just a little bit here. But you've also got then the special ability here is that you get some battlefield items. Now this was seen already in the previous Marvel Unmatched sets, and in fact if you own those you can mix and match these battlefield items. But the idea is you shuffle them up, you place them out in matching locations, and then you can utilize these while you're playing on the board. If you are at any one of these matched locations that have the schemes, you can use that scheme. And for one action, and then it goes away. So, for example, this one's recover 3 health. Very nice. Look at the top 3 cards of any deck, put them back in any order. And here, move 2 spaces, gain 1 action. Once you've done that, like I said, this is going to go away, and that's it. And then these 3 allow you to enhance a combat, either an attack or a defense. And once you play your card face down, you can then choose, if you're standing there, to put this on the card as well, and it'll be +2 or +1 or +1 down here. So that's it for these. Very simple, and like I said, you can mix and match if you have the other Marvel sets, which feature the same idea. On the back of this, you've got Navy Pier as well, but with the rings instead of the fully colored in discs or circles, and you can choose whichever side you want. If you want to see more of the artwork, then you want to play on this side. Taking a look at the characters, we're going to start with Miss Marvel here. Miss Marvel, and there is her figure there. She has 14 health points or hit points. And then her special ability here being stretchy. At the start of your turn, you may move her 1 space. Miss Marvel can attack from up to 2 spaces away, and she ignores the zones. That's not going to matter. So she's still a melee warrior, but she attacks from 2 spaces away. So the idea here is the main things that she cares about are zones, being in more zones than the person she is hitting, and also the size of her hand, which is kind of funny because, get it? Size of her hand. So we'll take a look at some of those things. So here we've got this one that puts her in any space in her zone. We've got this one here. If Miss Marvel's space shares no zones with the opposing fighter, you get to draw 2 cards. So that's pretty good. You're obviously attacking again from 2 spaces away. And if you're not sharing a zone, this is a fantastic card. We've got Shrink, Shrink, Shrink over here, where you get to do, if you choose one effect, but if you share no zones with the opposing fighter, you get to do both of these. Discard a card, force your opponent to discard a card, or move the opposing fighter up to 3 spaces. Very good. You get one of the 2, or possibly both. That's the same. This one over here is a 3, but if she is in more zones than the opposing fighter, then the value of this card is 6 instead. That is very good, and the opponent certainly wants to be careful about that one. This one here is one that cares about the size of your hand. So this is the value of the card is equal to the number of cards in your hand. So this could be up to, well, I don't know, whatever, likely it could be up to a 6 usually, but it could be more than that. Recover 2 health, then if you have 4 more cards in your hand, gain 1 action. And there's a few of these that do something, and then if you have 4 more cards in your hand, something else. Very good. That one is a classic card. Here we go. Here's another one. Draw 1 card after this combat. Then if you have 4 more cards in your hand, deal 1 damage to an adjacent fighter. You do need to be adjacent to them, which you normally wouldn't be, but if you're using this as a defense, they very well might be. So there you go. That's the general idea here that she is dealing with is caring about the zones that she's in, and caring about having a large hand size so that she gets little extra bonuses on top of what she normally would do. That's Ms. Marvel. Next up, let's take a look at Squirrel Girl over here. There she is. That is Squirrel Girl, and her main idea here is that she's going to be swarming the board with little squirrels. There are 8 of these things, and they are just like sidekicks, except they're smaller. This is a smaller disc, and in fact, they are considered small fighters, for which there are rules in the rulebook, okay? Basically, small fighters can share a space with other characters. There can be up to 4 of these in the same spot. And if anything hurts one, it takes care of all the ones in that location. So if they take a hit and these 4 are together, they're all gone. So she is going to, at the start of her turn, be able to put out one of these little squirrels adjacent to her. And then again, it explains that they're small and that she begins with none. Her main deal then would be swarming the board with these things, okay? So she's got this one, increase the value of this card by 1 for each squirrel adjacent to the opposing fighter. There's a lot of those. Move each squirrel up to 3 spaces after this combat. Summon 2 squirrels in any space. You saw that one. During combat, and there's a lot of these that care about you having 4 or more in the fighter zone or in their surrounding area. So if there are 4 or more squirrels in your fighter's zone, the value of this card is 4 instead. And then after combat, moving squirrels, we saw already a horde of squirrels. Choose a space with 4 or more squirrels adjacent to it. Deal 2 damage to a fighter in that space. Here we go. If there are 4 or more squirrels in the opposing fighter's zone, this is the opposing fighter. This time the value of this card is 5 instead. Summon 1 in her space, then place 1 in any space in her zone, and so on. So again, the idea here being you want to, here we go, recover 2 health and summon another one. You want to swarm the board with these things, have them either in your zone or the opposing fighter's zone when you want them to be there, when you need them to be there. You need 4 normally. And if you manage to do that, you are going to be getting some extra bonuses, extra little, boosts. Your cards will be generally getting better. And you have, like I said, 8 of these things. So pretty soon the board is going to be slammed with these little guys running every which way every time you move and trying to just be where they need to be. Again, they do not stop the opposing fighter from moving around or anybody else, so you can't really entrap somebody with them, but you can have them, where they want to go and deal with it that way. So there you go. That is Squirrel Girl. Let's take a look at Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger are going to be a fairly straightforward duo here. You've got 2 fighters. They each have a dial of 8 health each, and the simple idea here is that they both need to be taken out in order for you to lose. So if an opposing player takes out, say, just Dagger, you can keep going with Cloak. They need to eliminate both of these, and they have a bunch of cards that are going to aid each other. These 2, of course, are going to work very much in tandem, help each other out. So let's take a look at some of that, starting with the card right here, which is about dealing damage and getting bonuses. So after you attack, if it's Cloak who attacks and they deal at least 2 combat damage, the opposing player discards a card. If it's Dagger, you gain an action. Very good, very strong stuff. Then we've got here, if Dagger played this card, which is a defensive card, she swaps spaces with Cloak, and then Cloak is now the defender, and the value of this card is 4. There we go. We've got this. If Cloak played this, place the opposing fighter adjacent to Dagger and gain an action. So there's going to be a lot of this. And then this card here, which is very interesting, where you get to deal damage to one of the fighters, one of your fighters up to 4, and then recover that much from the other one and draw 2 cards. You've got 2 copies of that. That means if the opposing player is really targeting, say, Cloak, and Cloak is down to 3, you can play this card, you can hurt Dagger for, say, 3, and then add 3 to Cloak. And now they're both a little bit healthier, and the opposing player is going to have a harder time eliminating either one, giving you more options on the table. We've got the feints, of course. We've got here this Light Force Barrage, which is a 7 for Dagger, by the way. This card cannot be canceled after combat. If you won the combat, your fighter takes damage equal to the amount of damage you dealt. This is a a way to like wipe out somebody, is hopefully the idea here. But you can try to, again, utilize cards to rebalance these two or just to heal one. So we've got those. This one here is going to let you move after combat. This one here lets you boost the attack with a different card. The Living Light here is interesting. It changes who plays the effect changes based on who plays the card, basically. So if Cloak played this card to defend, Dagger's going to recover 2 health, and if Dagger played it to defend, then Cloak recovers 2 health. So again, very much what I'm talking about here with them helping each other out. This one we've seen. So yeah, that's the idea. Basically what they're doing is helping each other out here. Perfect balance. If Cloak and Dagger are both adjacent to the opposing fighter, this card is 6 instead. Very interesting, them two working in tandem. So there you go. That is the fighters that you're going to find in this box and the board. Let's go ahead and go back up top for some final thoughts. Okay, so that's it. Teen Spirit. I am a huge fan of Unmatched, Joey, and I don't know if you are as well.
I love it. And I love Marvel, and see, do you do Marvel versus Marvel? I like to go Marvel versus everything else.
Really?
Yeah, you stick to Marvel, don't you?
Generally.
Really?
I like to mix it up a little bit, but I do like the idea of, Ghost Rider versus Cloak and Dagger or whatever. Yeah, I do like to stay in world a little more. Yeah,
I like to deviate a little bit, get Medusa out there up against Ghost Rider or up against, I do like that.
Right.
But I love the Marvel packs.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Not the one we won't mention.
Okay, right. Yeah, there's a standalone which we think is kind of kooky and we don't really love it. But yeah, so Teen Spirit here is the third one in this size box with 3 heroes and it all being Marvel.
Right.
I really like the first 2. I really especially like Redemption Row. I think it's a fantastic set.
That's your favorite one?
That's my favorite one of the 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I guess is a little bit of a spoiler because, well, that denotes that this is not my favorite one of the 3. It's out there now. What am I going to do? Put the genie back in the bottle? It's too late. So this one I enjoy, but I actually found the characters in this one to be, and this can be a good or a bad thing, depending on how you want to think of it. These are a little bit more by the numbers, I suppose. That's how I felt about these 3 characters, generally.
Yeah, I agree, because almost like Luke Cage is an example, not in this, obviously, but he's an effective play, but he's not fun to play.
Okay,
There's
sure.
balance on that. I mean, he's very effective in the way he takes damage and gives damage, but he's not fun. Miss Marvel on this was actually, she's exciting to play. I like that movement.
Yeah.
But I don't know how effective she is.
Okay, right, okay. I will say, I think Miss Marvel to me felt good, and I like her. And again, maybe I'm being a little unfair saying that this is by the numbers. She, to me, felt like a more fun Bullseye. She feels very much like Bullseye.
As powerful or not?
I don't know about that. The power level, I think it's all well balanced. I try not to worry about that too much, whether something is balanced. I leave that for people who go to tournaments for this stuff.
Right.
Is this fun to play? Should you pick it up and mess with it? That's where I'm at, right? But to me, I find her play style and the deck construction more fun. Bullseye is all about, did you already win a fight? Then you get to do something cool. That's neat. But I really like this idea of her whole idea is twofold. Large hand size, which is a very funny kind of,
By
thing.
the picture,
Yeah. And then zones. She cares about zones not for attacking you, but for counting them up and being like, haha, I'm in more zones than you. Here's a thing I can throw at you.
And that's when, if you don't know the card, like when I did not know you had that card, I was just standing wherever, and then you pull that out, and you're like, this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
right.
That's a big advantage if you don't know that card's coming.
And knowing the deck then makes that a really fun back and forth.
Right.
I think she's a really fun character. I think my favorite characters, though, from the deck, from the set here, are Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger are very clean, actually, incredibly straightforward.
Yep.
I would say the most straightforward of these 3, combatants. But it's just fun having 2 characters out there. They're both heroes, not a hero and a sidekick. And the way they interact with one another is fantastic. For me, MVP of the box, Cloak and Dagger.
By far. Their synergy is just off the charts. I mean, the way that one card allows you to just switch their places.
Yeah.
And like Cloak will take the hits.
Yeah.
And it's just the way they go back and forth. And you can actually physically take damage to give damage to the other. And that's...
Like balance them out, yeah.
Yeah, that's really big. Now, you didn't mention Squirrel Girl much. What do you think? Is that more of like a one-off fun style to play once or twice?
For me, I don't think I'm going to come back to her too much.
I don't either, but there were times where I kind of laughed when it's like, oh, look at that. You know, Cloak has got 12 squirrels around him. It's kind of funny, you know?
Right, yeah.
But...
It's like covered in squirrel. You know,
Yeah.
we're imagining this stuff,
Exactly.
right?
The mental image is great, but the replayability, I don't know if it's there for her.
I don't know if it's replayable or not. I just did not find it as fun to engage with that.
No.
Having 8 sidekicks that you need to move around on the board, the main hook being, are there 4 in your zone or the opponent's zone? Ding, bonus. I don't find that as fun, that's all, you know? I just didn't
tedious.
find that as, I guess, it's a little annoying, it's a little tedious. I could do it as a gag once in a while, and I don't mind playing against her. I think maybe that's it. I'm fine playing against her. I don't want to play her.
I think it's good playing against her if you don't have someone that gets a lot of AP. Because if you're moving 8 squirrels, if someone has AP, it's going to take forever. Because this game moves fast.
Right.
It should. But if you're moving 8 squirrels, it's exhausting.
Yeah. So I think for me, at the end of the day here, I like 2 characters quite a bit. And Squirrel Girl, whatever.
I do too.
The problem is not that they're fun or that they're balanced. I don't have an issue with any of those things. It's more, are they splashy? Right. And I think this box, except for maybe Squirrel Girl, who again, unfortunately, I don't find as fun to run.
No.
The box is not that splashy. Whereas in the other ones, you know, you got Electra, who dies and comes back with new abilities. What? And, you know, Ghost Rider will run through you and hit you with the
and Hellfire.
judge you and stuff. Yeah. And he has that Hellfire sort of secondary currency. Again, just the characters I find more splashy, more like whiz-bang. And this box, I didn't get that as much. It's not to say I don't like this box. I just think this would be my 3rd recommended out of the 3. If you're getting the Marvel stuff, this is my last recommendation. As of right now, this is my last recommendation.
Mine would be 2nd, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be Redemption Row first, and then this. So
Okay, I gotcha, yeah.
I would, but I love Cloak and Dagger. I've always loved them in the comics, and I love what they bring to the table. The fact there's 2 heroes moving around, and they're really interchangeable. And to fight against them is tough. I'd like to see them go up against some of the tougher Unmatched guys.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. That's what we've got. So some final thoughts here. I'm going to come down at a 7.5. It's not quite as high as the ratings I've given the other 2 sets. It's not low by any means. That right there is a seal of approval. It might be, you know, something higher. But yeah, this is certainly a set I would recommend, especially if you're someone who gets a kick out of Squirrel Girl, you found her to be humorous in the comics, you think she's a quirky, funny character, you identify with that character, I think you're going to have a great time with this. This is a good set. Nothing negative to say. I just personally didn't find her play style to be fun, whereas the other 2 I really had a good time with. So good. 3rd recommended for me out of the 3, and still a solid 7.5.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8, only because I like Cloak and Dagger that much.
Yeah.
I think...
They're really carrying this box for you, right? I mean,
you know what? I would probably give it higher if it was just a 1-style box with Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Because I like them that much, just to be able to... And I want to dive into them deeper and get that back and forth, because I think you could take on range people with them, too.
Yeah,
so I like that a lot. So that's what carries this box for me.
All right, well, there you go, folks. That is an 8, then, out of 10. That's a seal of approval, and that's going to do it for us. Thanks very much for tuning in. My name is Z Garcia.
And I'm Joey Evans.
Watch out for the squirrels.
Oh, everywhere.